Welcome back, Bulls fans. We got more free agent talk today. Today, I want to talk about Anfernee Simons, some strengths, some weaknesses, and what value there is to bring him back next year. But before I get too deep into the video, I want to know, are you excited for this rebuild? Because I've been really excited for this rebuild. I've been wanting to rebuild for a while. But if you are too, let me know by hitting that like and hype button down below. So Anfernee Simons, as we know, 27-year-old, actually turning 27 today. It's his birthday, so happy birthday, Anfernee. 7th year in the league, just wrapped up. He's a shooting guard, 6'3", 200 pounds. Last year, between the Celtics and us, he averaged 25 minutes a game, 14.3 points on 44% from the field, 3 assists, 2.8 rebounds, 0.1 blocks, and 0.5 steals per game. Overall, he produces pretty well on offense. And I'm going to get a little bit deeper into that because, very offensive-oriented player. Most of his strengths come from offense. Most of his weaknesses come from defense. One of those archetypes of player. But overall, produced pretty well for us last year. In the 6 games he played for us, all of those averages jumped up about 1 value, half a value to a full value. So worked in the offense pretty well, flowed pretty well, had, I want to say, 2 to 3 20-point games because he averaged 15 when he got traded here at the deadline. But unfortunately had that wrist injury that shut him down for the rest of the season. Honestly, wasn't too upset shutting him down for the season. Definitely that decision definitely factored into a few more losses. Not saying I wanted to outright tank, but with him being injured, it definitely made more sense to just shut him down, let him get the surgery, let him recover how he needed to. But yeah, when he got here, he kind of hit the ground running and was the starting shooting guard for 5 of the 6 games he played here. Played pretty well in those 6 games. So with that being said, let's get into the strengths. The biggest ones, as I said, really all of them are all offense oriented, very offensive minded player. Elite at the free throw line, shot 89, almost 90% on the season. Got to the foul line at a decent clip. Efficient 3-point shooting. Shot about 38% this year from 3. So overall, very efficient from multiple levels of scoring, multiple places on the court. He's entering his prime. This should be the first, if not second, season of his prime, depending on where you see NBA primes nowadays. Because I remember growing up, it was always said that an NBA player's prime was between the ages of 28 to 32. But with modern medicine, modern training methods, I think it's safe to say players' primes have been lengthened. We're seeing a lot of players produce at their peak for longer periods of time. Like, we're seeing a lot of guys enter their prime earlier, leave it later. So I think it's up for discussion. I think you can say 26 for most players, but I think a lot of people are going to agree at the very least 27 is where most people are starting to enter their prime. But regardless of if you see it as 26 or 27 is on average, the first year of a player's prime, he's already there. So depending on how you look at it, either entering his prime this year or the second year of his prime this year, either way, he's entering his prime. So it could be valuable to re-sign him, hold on to him, whether that be to keep him throughout the whole rebuild or just re-sign him, keep him for a year or two, coach him up even more, develop him even more, see what that prime production is going to look like from him, and then ship him out in the peak of his prime. But either way, entering a player's prime is definitely a big strength, no matter who it is, whether it, like I said, whether it be for rebuild value or for trade value. Another one is his off-ball creation. He's very good at moving without the ball and kind of making the defense gravitate towards him without the ball to both help himself create shots, but also set up shots for his teammates. Now, I don't want to make this exact comparison because of who it is, but think of the same way that Steph creates shots for his teammates just by moving along the three-point line without the ball. He's a good enough. Now, I want to preface again, not saying he's like Steph Curry. I'm not going to sit here and compare anyone to Steph Curry because it's Steph Curry. But in the same, playing the same style where he's going to move all around the court without the ball. And because of how good of a three-point shooter he is, like I said, he shot 38% from three this year. Him moving without the ball, you're going to have to watch him because he's good enough both on the ball and catch and shoot. Just one way or another, he's a good enough scorer that even without the ball, he can still find the right spot and get himself open for a bucket. So having that gravity where you still have to focus on them even if they don't have the ball will be able to open up the offense a good amount for not even just himself, but really for everybody. The last strength I have here is low turnovers. For most of his career, he's averaged 2 flat turnovers or less. Last year, he averaged 1.2. And overall, pretty good if you can keep yourself under 2.5 turnovers, especially with someone who is a primary scorer for most of the teams he's been on. Like in Portland, he was like the second option for most of his time there. So being that second option, having the ball as much as he does, it is good that he's keeping it under 2.5. Really, it's honestly great that he's keeping it under 2 for the most part, but he's had a 2.3 turnover and a 2.1 turnover season. So even when he averages over 2 turnovers a game, it's still not reaching 3, which for someone who has decent but still fairly low assist numbers, I'm happy with 2 turnovers a game or less. But speaking of the assists, that's where we can start talking about the weaknesses, is he's an inconsistent playmaker, which inconsistent doesn't necessarily mean high turnovers because, as I said, he's only been averaging 2 turnovers for most of his career, which isn't even that bad of a number. It's more so he has games where he's going to produce 7, 8 assists, and then he'll follow it up with 2 to 3 2-assist games, another 2 to 3 6-assist games, and just his assist numbers just kind of all over the place, no consistency to it. Even then, like I said, not turning it over, but like I don't want it to be seen as like, oh, he's inconsistent as he's just going to keep giving the ball to the other team. Not that inconsistent, but more so inconsistent of you don't know how many assists or how many good plays he's going to produce from it. And also an inconsistent playmaker in the fact of his shot won't always fall at a good clip. And by that, I mean, like, he'll have 2 to 3 52% shooting performances. Then he'll follow it up with a 42. Then 3 games of 44, a game of 57, a game of 62. Like, the percentages are just all over the place. So, honestly, I don't even see that as the worst weakness in the world. I mean, that's kind of just like a reps thing. Just get the reps in, just get a little bit dialed. But I mean, I'm not gonna say being a flamethrower is the worst weakness in the world. I'd prefer if you weren't, because I'd prefer you be able to have the flamethrower percentages when you're on that night consistently, but one way or another, weakness, not the end of the world. The one that is very concerning is he's a defensive liability. I can't remember what site I was on, but I read somewhere that he had the 11th worst defensive rating in the entire NBA when he was on the Celtics. And I can normally find positives in things. I can't find any positives in being technically the 11th worst defender in the NBA. Like, I mean, get in the gym, work on it, but like, that's kind of something hard to work back from. I mean, the 11th worst in the entire NBA when you're either a starter or one of the first 2 guys off the bench. I mean, that's kind of crazy, guys. I'm not going to sit here and act like that's not crazy. That's crazy to be statistically that bad of a defender. Like, that's not even defensive rating isn't even a opinion-based thing. Like, that's cold hard facts of being one of the worst defenders. And I wish I could downplay it a little bit, but like, that's one of the worst weaknesses I've seen of a player that I've covered recently. Like, if a big reason why is his size. I mean, 6'3", 200 pounds isn't bad for a guard, but it is bad for a shooting guard. And that's kind of why the size is bad for him, is he's not a shooting guard that also plays point guard. He's a shooting guard that plays shooting guard. Like, he's kind of he is in that archetype of player that's like, he's a shooting guard in a point guard's body. And right now, he's playing well despite it. I don't want to act like he's not playing well. He's been he averaged 20 points a game for multiple seasons in Portland. He averaged 14 to 15 for the past 2 years outside of Portland. But this is also the new age NBA where 20 points isn't as valuable as it was when I was growing up. Like, 25 is definitely the new 20. So we see bench guys averaging 20 points per game nowadays. Like, it's still a great benchmark for offensive production, but it's not what it used to be. So you can't really get by averaging 15 points a game anymore. You definitely, if you're averaging 15, you have to be producing elsewhere, and he's just not really producing elsewhere to warrant to warrant not saying that being a 6'3", 200-pound shooting guard isn't a weakness for him, if that makes sense. Next would be that limited on ball, which that kind of goes with the inconsistent playmaking. And he's not always creating his shot with the ball, which is so weird to say because I've covered so many players that are just incredible on-ball creators, but incapable of creating without the ball. And Anfernee is kind of being the opposite. He's great at creating shots for himself off the ball and being able to move around without the ball in that sense and create his shot in that sense, but just not as much on the ball. And the final weakness is arguably the biggest, and it's his biggest offensive weakness, and that's separation. Which this goes with the limited on-ball ability in the fact of one of the reasons he's not able to produce as well on the ball as he is off the ball is he doesn't get as much separation as he needs for being a 6'3" shooting guard. Like, the NBA is just getting taller and taller by the day. We're seeing most point guards being 6'4", 6'5", when growing up 6'4" to 6'5" was kind of the average for a shooting guard, which is, again, why I say he's a bit undersized. But because of that, if you can't get separation on your jumper, it's just going to be that much harder for you to get the jumper to fall, which I think plays a lot into his shooting being streaky. His overall field goal percentage being fairly streaky is he doesn't get consistent separation on his jumper, and because of that, it's just easier for the defense to disrupt his shot, block his shot, and just overall not get him to produce. So he's definitely going to have to work on his separation, and I don't know how much better he's going to be able to get, but I mean, he's, like I said earlier in the video, he's just now entering his prime, so it's not like he's at the end of his career where all hope for improvement is lost. But overall, my thoughts on Anfernee Simons is I'm very open to keeping him in Chicago. I mean, the biggest thing is we traded for him at the deadline. We only got 6 games out of him. I'm not willing to trade for him just to not really see him in a Bulls uniform. I mean, a lot of our guards and players that we traded for at last year's deadline are going to be rentals, but out of all of those rentals, the one player that I'm hoping isn't going to be a rental is Anfernee Simons. I think he can be valuable to this team with that off-ball creation, with how many on-ball creators we have, it is going to be nice to have a off-ball creator to throw in the mix and just kind of add another element to the offense. But, I mean, if he walks, I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm just not going to be thrilled. And I know that kind of sounds like the same thing, but it's going to be one of those, I'm not going to be happy, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. So, if we can get him on a team-friendly deal, go for it. With the wrist injury, I'm thinking his price might get knocked down a little bit. Some teams might be a little bit weary. So that's where I say we could definitely re-sign him to a little bit cheaper of a deal, keep him on the team for a year or two, and if some team is like, hey, we really want Anfernee, we'll give you this, this, and this, and it's a really good offer, then ship him out. By all means. He's close to the timeline I have, but he doesn't fit it perfectly. So I think he does bring a good amount of value to a rebuilding team, but I do think that in a few years' time he will start being that guy that contenders will call for to push them over the edge. So overall, I think there's value to bringing him back, but if Bryson doesn't, or whoever we get as GM doesn't see the value, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think we should re-sign Anfernee, and do you want to re-sign Anfernee? Comment please or nope down below in the comments. And when you do, give me a reason or two why. I love hearing what you guys think of everything. I love hearing where your guys' heads are at. And honestly, I want to talk about it with you guys. I love having discussions with you guys in the comments on all our platforms. You guys are so engaging, and we couldn't thank you guys enough for it. Now, please share, please subscribe. We're trying to reach 1,900 subscribers. We're roughly 60 away, so every share matters, every subscriber matters. Like I said, we love having you guys here. You guys are super, super engaging with the content, always commenting, always liking, always giving us your guys' 2 cents on what moves we think we could make, and what moves could be good and what moves could be bad. And honestly, we love having those discussions with you guys. Jordan and I are loving this offseason content. We're having a blast making all this content for this rebuild, all these scouting reports, all these GM and coaching search videos. And we love that you guys are loving it too, that you guys are here. We couldn't thank you guys enough for joining us in all this, being part of this community that we're building. And overall, like I said, just can't thank you guys enough. We love having you guys here. We love making this content for you. But please make sure you're liking, you're subscribing, you're turning post notifications on. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We post on all those platforms daily, always making sure you guys are kept up to date on the latest Bulls news, and we don't want you to miss a single report. But with that being said, I want everyone to have just the best day ever. As always,